Hello and welcome. I'm Emmett Lewis, and with me is Mikael Christiansen, and together we are the Handstand
Indeed.
Cast, supported by Handstand Factory. We have a special cast for you tonight, which we are subtitling the Corona Cast, because, well, I'm sure as all you know, there's some weird stuff going down in the world, and we're gonna. I suppose our topic tonight is training at home or training alone. We have a few questions from people, and I suppose we've both trained a lot by ourselves, so we could give some advice on this situation. What do you think, Mikhail?
Yeah, what do I think? Yeah, I was training. I actually didn't really train today much, but I just cleaned out my room. I just finally threw out, like, I had a couple of like old suitcases standing and some furniture and stuff. And yeah, like all we needed was like a low budget Armageddon for me to finally move shit out of my room so that I can train in here. Uh, so
I think there's a lot of people whose houses are like getting infinitely cleaner
yeah.
than they ever
Yeah,
imagined.
I just took away, so that I don't really have that much space. I can't do everything in here, but can do most stuff. So, and I mean, I've done this for I don't know how many years before I started hand balancing. Even I would just figure out some solution to do stuff wherever I was.
Would you practice your breakdancing? I want to see you do some air flares in your bedroom.
I mean, if I was Marcio, yeah, he could probably do it in here. There are some people that probably could, but for me, it wouldn't be. A good
Yeah, I'm
idea.
not interested in the people who could do it. I want to
would-
see you do it.
I
I
would
want to see
break
you
my
attempt
leg
it.
kicking that wardrobe. So I think I'm gonna
Yeah, it
skip.
depends, like, how well built the wardrobe is. Is it IKEA or is it like quality built?
It's
Who
thick
knows?
enough to break my leg, I think. So I'm gonna skip out on that one. But yeah, yeah, training at home is. I think in general with hand balancing, if you haven't trained at home yet, then you probably aren't that obsessed yet. I think most people that
Do you even hands balance,
yeah,
bro?
kind of. I mean, I think at one point most people end up doing it, not just because they're that obsessed about it, but since it's kind of accessible to do everywhere.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the advantages of the handstand is once you have flat spore and kind of enough space to kick up or straddle up, you're like
Yeah.
sorted.
Yeah, I think like so.
It's also like,
What were you saying?
that said, I have to say, like, we traveled a lot around Asia a few years ago, and one of the things we found was like finding a flat floor to do handstands on is difficult. There's a lot of places in the world where like the concept of flat does not exist in their building codes, and
I
that's fine. They're fully developed, but it's just like flat floors are not a thing.
I think for me, like, especially when I was on tour and we would have days off, because I mean, when with both of like the major circus companies that I was on tour with for years, like we would usually just stay in hotels, and it would be kind of like smaller hotels around Europe or wherever we were. And often they didn't have a gym, so I just ended up training in the hotel room. And I did really have a couple of funky setups. I remember like a couple of times when the room was so small that you couldn't really kick up or straddle up or do anything. So what I would do is there was enough space in between the bed and the wall, so I just sit on my bed, and then I would just put my hands on the floor from the bed, press from there, then do whatever one arms, put my legs back on the bed, and just sit down again. And I mean, works.
Yeah, I've been in that situation in a hotel room of like handstands between a desk where there's just no option of overbalancing. Like you just
No,
don't
you
have the
can't fall.
option. But then you have to use the bed to like trampoline yourself up into your handstand and hope you catch it.
Make it into like
Fun times.
specific precision practice.
Yeah. It's just that option. I think is very important in handstands. It's like sometimes you just have to go like there is just no option of falling over. You just have to stay. A lot of people kind of
Yeah,
miss
I
that.
think it's also like, I mean, as you become experienced enough, I mean, it does become like standing on your feet, so you kind of forget that you can fall. I had some interesting falls actually in here yesterday, because yeah, it's actually fucking funny because I have my small cane in here. It's just like a one cane that is about, how tall is it? Maybe 30 centimeters tall. No, maybe a little bit less. Yeah, like
The
25.
cane.
Yeah, let's
If we're
say
gonna
it's
make a-
25
He
centimeters
has the
tall, and
cane.
it's just one cane. and I was training like jump switches from one hand to the other here. And there isn't really enough space in the that's kind of sketchy. If I do good technique, it's fine. But I did a jump, and then like I gathered my legs on one arm, and I can do a legs together one arm on that cane in this room without touching the ceiling if my placement is perfect. But if my toes are pointed, the shoulder is pressed up, and kind of my legs drift a little bit inwards towards two arms. I touch the ceiling with the toes, and I just fell together like a house of cards, like several times, and almost smashed my head into the bed. Because like when something pushes your toes in that position, like there's nothing you can do. You just like totally lose touch, and you're not used to falling due to that at any given time either. So I had there was a couple of that were almost spectacular, I would say. But
yeah.
I mean,
did you get any of them on video? Because I want to see like a month of blooper reels from Mikkel's training in the bedroom.
I did actually, but I deleted them. I'll make sure to keep some of them, because I'll probably train more jumps in here some other days. So I'll keep them for a room training blooper reel. But I mean, if we're talking about this like the
room training blooper reel with Mikkel,
well, like the kind of how to say the home training regime, I think that, I mean, if to at least to our listeners in terms of like useful things to think about in terms of home training, because I mean there's a lot of different people and different levels that I would assume is listening to this talk. And I think that one really good thing for people that are kind of at the very like let's say we start at the very early stages of development, I think that, I mean, let's say you are in a home situation where maybe you need to watch your kids all day. So you have like limited actual training time, but you're at home all day. You maybe don't have the space, you don't have the equipment, and maybe you're not so safe at just like doing freestanding balances and so on. Then I think that like a period like this is, I mean, it's really perfect for conditioning. It's just like, okay, you give yourself one goal. Okay, I can do a 30 seconds stomach to wall handstand. Okay, yeah, but during this period, you build up to being able to do a 60-second handstand. If you're able to find the time and you have a wall, you just kind of do more kind of a conditioning focused work. So that like when you inevitably then get back to the gym or get back to your practice spot and can delegate the time, then you will have actually done something. Whereas if you don't have the circumstances to do your normal practice and you try to force it, it's unlikely going to work, and it's unlikely going to make you particularly happy about it. Yeah,
it's definitely one of these things. It's like we say if you're following our program or whatever your program is, doesn't matter if you're following our ones, but it's like there's certain things that you will just be limited on by equipment, space, or safety. But just give you, it's a very common thing, or like, you know, I'm actually very guilty of this myself. I'll just like, if I can't do the perfect setup, I'll just say fuck it and quit for that day. Or if people are annoying me in the gym, I'll tap out and go fuck it, the music's terrible. But, you know, not getting caught up on that and just going like, okay, I can't do this, this and this, but I can still get like 15 minutes of good quality work in and just get it done. That kind of leads on, there's a good question here actually. Where was it go? We have some questions that we're going to get to. Where's that mindset question in? Oop. Hold on, let me get my phone to find out the questions on.
Yeah.
There was one question on getting in the mindset for training at home. Let me just read out the exact one. As you can tell, we are fully scripted and very prepared at this podcast. Nothing just pulled out of our ass.
I've never tried this microphone before. I'm really happy it worked though.
Any tips for getting into the mindset while training home? Tough now. The gym ritual has gone. Well, it's kind of one of these things. There's who is it? Maybe it was an author or screenwriter, Stephen Pressman, or was it Stephen King? Someone. And they had a really good one, and it has kind of stuck with me as well. What I say to a lot of my clients is, he only writes when inspiration strikes, but he's very lucky that inspiration strikes at 9 a.m. at his desk every morning. So, and his whole thing was just like, he works from home, he's self-employed, I think it was Stephen Pressman, whatever. But he just basically goes in and he sits down at his desk and he starts working, and that's it. It's just like, I work from 9 to 5 and that's it. And I start typing. And there's a good element to that in this training. It's just like, well, I'll set a date with myself at 10 a.m. I will do the training, and I'll do whatever I can, and I'll finish at 10:30, 10:45, 11. You know, you can always do more if you feel in the mood, but if you just get in and get your minimum dosage that you say you're going to do for yourself, 15, 20 minutes, and then like at 20 minutes you can go like, okay, I've done 5 handstands, that's it, boom, done. And then day 2 comes, you're like, you know what, I feel like doing loads today, I'll do an hour. But it's just that idea of just getting up and getting ready to do it, and that's it. Like I've been doing that myself when I've been training at home. Now it's just like 6 o'clock hits, I'm going up and start warming up my handstands and see what happens.
Yeah, and I think it's like, I think touching back to what you just said is like,
Mikhail's got the Rona, by the way.
yeah, dying. But yeah, like this thing of you don't need to. I mean, it's a phase where things, especially like now, I mean, things aren't like they normally are, so don't have the normal expectations either. Like, but maybe you just use that for something. I think that is actually like maybe one of the most productive things. Like I said, like if you can do a 30 but you can't do a 60 seconds or like stomach to wall handstand and build that. I'm doing similar things right now because like there's a bunch of things that I cannot practice at all. So then there's no point even trying, because it's just I'm just not going to get anything done. I will then use the opportunity to readjust and do something else. And I mean, it's not easy to do, and it's not easy for me either, because there's loads of things that I want to do, and then I sometimes try and it doesn't work and so on. But the more you're at least able to kind of set like something realistic in relationship to the actual situation you're in. So and in that regard, I do think that like handstands are really perfect for this kind of thing. I even told it to like loads of my friends who don't do handstands, and like, yeah, but fucking hell, just start learning a handstand. Just get yourself up to the wall and mess around with it, because you don't have anything else to do. So why not learn something in this period?
Yeah, I think it's there's kind of something that got reminded me that our Taoiseach in Ireland, Leo Varadkar, he had a speech. It was really good. I thought it was really good. I don't really like him as an orator normally, but I thought his speech was very good for him. And he made a comment that like at a certain stage in this crisis, we're going to ask the old people to go cocoon mode. And what that would mean was like lock themselves away, because they're the people who are most affected by this kind of thing. But it reminded me there's this really bad meme that went around like about 10 years ago in the fitness world called going cocoon mode. And the idea of cocoon mode was like social interactions or just limit you in what you can do. So you'd cut out all social interactions, and then you'd eat healthy because you wouldn't be eating out or drinking with your mates. You'd work on your social skills as well. As the other thing, you can practice your social skills without being with people. I don't know how that would work, but this was part of it. And then you'd also get in shape during this like period, and then quit video games and stop eating junk, blah blah blah. But then you'd emerge from your cocoon a beautiful butterfly. So he just reminded me of this. I was like, maybe there's a lesson here. It's like, maybe we should all just go.
Yeah, we should just all
everyone will come out.
Everyone
like
should just arrive from the crisis. Like, yeah, everyone should just arrive and be fucking glorious when this is over. I'll be expecting loads. Everyone will just come out with like long hair and just like look like they're ready for like a model shoot. I certainly won't, but
be like Zoolander 3.
I'll be the same.
In reality, we're sitting at home in our pajamas, eating biscuits at day one and debating whether like 420 applies to wine as well as weed. But that 20 just like gets incrementally smaller every day. I think it's like about 11:20 now for a lot of people, from the gist I'm getting from. Maybe that's just an Irish thing, but
see, there's a couple of more questions.
Let's do another question. This is a good one actually. Yeah, we've got loads of questions actually, but maybe we won't do all of them. Warm up. If throughout the day I would like to do multiple attempts of doing handstands, just kicking up to handstand and balance as much as I can, then come down, then do I need to warm up my wrist and shoulders every time I'm doing handstand, or is it not required? Or does it change over time, as when you're a beginner you might need a little warm up, but as your practice and strength grows you can hit handstand any time of the day without warm up? What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, I mean it's in general just a capacity question. I mean, if whenever you're working towards like kind of the higher ends of your capacity, it's you'd likely be better off on average to warm up and take some time. But if you're doing something very simple, like I mean, for me to do a 2-arm handstand, of course, it's not going to take a lot of warm up, but for safety, I always just you like to spend a little bit of time. You think from experience, just take a little bit of time on the wrist so that you know how they feel before you go on them, because like you can't be sure whether or not they're 100% ready before you go. So I think for me, like the kind of rough cut on it is if you work on 2 arms, you are likely fine on it unless you have injuries. If you work on 1 arms and if you want to train those, then just take time to warm up your wrist and shoulder every time, because you will on average do a better workout. You'll have a better sensation of how your body feels before you attack, and you're operating in a much higher risk zone on 1 arm.
Yeah, I think also there's an important concept I term them radar exercises for myself, where I have a certain couple of exercises that I can just do. Like for handstands, there's a couple of stretches that I know where I go, okay, if I do that and I go, okay, my wrist is fine. I can just tell very quickly by that and I can do something. Whereas if I do this little routine, it's just like traction the joint. If it feels a bit off, then I know I have to do some kind of warm up or it's just going to hurt, particularly on the wrist I broke. So it's like, okay, it's that. So it's kind of like, it's like you have a warm up routine that you would do to do a full session, and you'd find that there's indicator exercises that kind of give you a sensation of how the wrist is doing at that moment. And once you can hone in and get used to that, then you're like, okay, I do this one, maybe it's 1 exercise, maybe it's 2, and then I can go on my hands. Whereas if it's not that way, or if it's not feeling right, then you don't get the surprise when suddenly you have all your body weight in your hands.
Yeah, that's basically I think that's a good gist of it. And like, I really like that term of yours with the radar exercises. I've adopted that one because it really does help a lot. If you have a couple of these, I have several in my practice where I would kind of test the grounds a bit before I start doing something difficult, and very often I can feel whether or not there's any point continuing to practice like a certain type of element after having done those kind of scans, and just see, okay, is this possible or interesting to practice today? If yes, okay, maybe. If not, then leave it alone, kind of. But it definitely does change over time, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely one.
It definitely does. But you need to keep kind of a check on this.
Yeah, it's one of those things, but it's also that idea of like kicking up and doing 1 or 2 handstands is very different than doing like 5 mini 20 or 30 minute sessions throughout the day.
For sure.
And there's a danger of big overtraining, because what you end up doing in a lot of multiple training sessions is, it's not like I have a discrete training session where it's like I do my strength training, I do whatever I'm doing, and then it's over, and then the body goes into recovery mode. It's basically like your whole day just becomes one long stretched out training session. So you're not actually going in. So you think, oh yeah, I've trained yesterday, but I had 24 hours recovery. You don't really, because you sleep 8 hours, and then suddenly you're on the hands again in the morning. So you're slowly potentially building up that cumulative fatigue and cumulative tissue under recovery, which suddenly leads to tendonitis.
Yeah,
there's a difference between like,
it's so easy to just overtrain these things if you just think. I think multiple sessions they can work, but I think the multiple sessions a day concept is maybe the one that is the easiest to overdo things with, because you set the plan and you say, okay, I'm going to do like 5 there and then 10 there and then 5 there and then 5 there and I'm done. But you're going to get excited and then you do 7 and 12 and 15, and suddenly you're being an idiot because you're getting excited. So like bracing yourself for the fact that you're human and these things can happen, I mean, it's on average a better idea. And I mean, if you are very strict with these things, it can work, sure, but you need to really pay attention, and it's not just a win-win kind of situation.
Yeah, it's definitely it's one of those things. It's always that running joke in strength training where people I'm going to start doing twice a day training, And twice a day training is very effective. I've used it with a lot of people over the years, and I've used it myself. It's a great thing. But the problem is everyone starts out going like, say we have a basic strength program where it's like, okay, I'll do 2 main exercises like squat and deadlift, and then I'll do 4 accessory exercises. So they just do that workout twice, when what you should really do is I'll do my 2 main exercises in the morning, and then I'll do my accessory exercise. So it's just one workout, but you split it up. Not I'm going to do 2 full workouts, and then you kind of titrate the volume up. Whereas everyone's like, okay, I'll do 2 hours of handstands, and then I'll do another 2-hour press session in the evening. I'll do that 6 days a week, and then I wonder why my elbows are exploding in 2 months.
Yeah, classic. Seen that.
I've
done that too.
Times.
Many times. Fucking idiot.
Yeah.
All right, should we go for another one?
Like, yeah. Okay, let's see what we got. Here's a good one. How to not fall into bad habits and how to reflect in an objective and productive way.
Don't be an idiot. First of all, you can't be objective because you're always an idiot. No. It's a good question. I mean, how not to fall into bad habits? I guess, first of all, you need to identify what are your bad habits. I guess that is like the number one thing. I mean, I could easily say what my bad habit is. It's just I don't fucking rest. Because I'm exactly that. I'm that guy. I can't have 2 sessions a day. Because I get excited. I start doing things that I shouldn't, and I do that all the time. It's not smart. I know that's a bad habit. So I need to rein in and say, no, I'm done now. I'm not going to do this and that and this and that, because my capacity at this shit is, of course, really high. So I'll just end up doing too much, and then you just either you get too tired, or like what I call the fatigue loop, or you get injured, or you just get no results or nothing. Like, I think it's really about if you're able to first of all identify them, and then like you need to for some people, if all you need is like a pen and paper and the numbers, and that's what you do, then it's maybe easier to avoid then certain bad habits. But then again, for such a person, the bad habit might be like, hey, I don't have pen and paper. I don't have a program today, so I don't train. I've seen that a lot.
That used to be me. That was definitely that was definitely one of my I don't know, when I was early in my gym days, like, you know, the usual, you must have a protein shake 20 minutes after leaving the gym or it's a failure. I was like, oh shit, I didn't bring my protein today. I'm not going to go to the gym. I don't have my training book to record my workout. Well, you know, it's not like phones weren't advanced back then, so you couldn't take notes on them. You'd have to like waste your credit to send a text message to yourself. Ain't nobody going to do that.
Yeah, fuck that.
Probably showing my age here.
Yeah.
But the other one on bad habits, there's definitely an interesting thing, like if we're going to learning a skill, and there's 2 kind of things, like say kicking up, where you can just feel like it's about to happen, but you're constantly making the same mistake. This is kind of thing is like what I look for when I'm training people, is that I try to get them to the point where they're making the same mistake every time, because then I can fix it. Whereas if the mistake is different every time, then the skill is actually possibly beyond your capacity at the moment.
Yeah, good point.
Because if you're making a consistent mistake, say you're always turning out to your right when you're kicking up, well then it's like, okay, the correction for me as a coach is very quick. It's very simple. Just turn left or overcorrect or something like this, or, you know, look at hand placement. It's whatever it is. But if you have someone the mistake is different every single time, and it will be slightly different every time, but it will coalesce towards one kind of big mistake. But if it's not happening, it means the skill is probably beyond your capacity, and the bad habit will be to just keep trying to hammer away at it. Knowing when to quit is a very important skill.
That's for sure. And I think like how to reflect in an objective and productive way, I think that's tricky. I don't think that there is much of an objective way, and I think that in one sense, that's also where kind of it's tricky when you're coaching yourself. And I've had that problem for many years, where I'm basically dictating my own training, because you start believing your own bullshit. I mean, you're human and you're not objective. So you start making up these fantasies and these stories, and then you start believing in them, and then it might not be correct. and that can be a problem. So like to be able to also call out your own bullshit and to dare to actually think, well, what if this isn't working? And I think that.
What if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong?
And I mean, you can't of course doubt too much either. But I think it's important to just know that like there isn't really any fail-safe thing or like any fail-safe way with this, because I mean, there's regardless. I mean, of course, hand balancing is a complex practice. There's tons of things going into it. But let's say we take a very simple practice such as. That's just something dumb, bicep curls. So for someone to come into the gym, they've never been to the gym before, and all they can lift is they can 1 RM 10 kilos of one bicep curl. If they go in the gym for 3 months, they're going to bicep curl more than 10 kilos. Most likely. Yeah.
12 kilos.
It is not going to be too hard to go to 12 kilos. But if this person is like close to world champion level in bicep curl, then we're at such a level where you can't just guarantee the progress at the same way you almost like you can kind of guarantee the progress for a beginner learning such a simple movement as that. But with hand balancing, since you have a lot more parameters earlier on in the process, it is much harder to kind of know exactly how it is going to develop. And I think just having that kind of in the back of your mind that like there isn't really any fail-safe 100% correct way for these things is.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. I don't know, hand balance or any other kind of skill development that has an artistic component and a sense of freedom. There's no exact way to do it. So there is no objective way. There's just like, you can't go, okay, we will take one person, you know, at the end of the day, we have different bodies. So, you know, that just basically counts against us. It's like, okay, there's no objective way to take this person to one arm that is going to be the exact same for the next person. But we got to do it anyway.
More questions,
I think. Here's a good one, actually. How do I keep my walls clean?
You don't. Or wait a second. Yes, you do. Just
you wash.
Yeah,
you wash
or
your feet.
Just learn freestanding. Once you can do your freestanding, you'll never need a wall again. Voila, very simple solution. Now you have another. Now you have another reason to just get your freestanding handstand super solid.
No, or you can put that Edo quote on your wall. Let them dirty the walls, and then you can dirty your walls with impunity.
Yeah, you can just paint it black. It's gonna work. At least no one will see your degeneracy at least.
Okay.
So that could be one solution.
See, you think that, but I had a studio that was painted black at one stage, and it turns out the walls are actually very difficult to keep clean.
I know.
I only had it for a few months. Okay, here's one from. We have that rule that we're going to read out the questions with people's names if they're terrible questions, but I'm going to do this in case his housemates are listening. How to Not Kill My Roommates by Livermore.
How not to kill his roommates? I know who his roommate is. Why do you want to kill Edward? I mean, he's a decently nice guy, isn't he? He's pretty good on his hands. And like a sociology student.
Yeah.
So don't kill him.
Yeah, it's one of these things.
I mean, you can maybe slap him around a few times, but be kind.
You get through this. That raises a question: is like, how many people are getting into fistfights with their roommates at the moment?
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I'm lucky. I'm happy I don't get into fistfight with my roomie because she'd probably kill me.
I'd pay to see that actually if you want a live stream.
She's probably stronger than me, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd pay to see that. Next question. How would you program strength training combined with push and keep pushing? It's one of these big questions that I think I'll dip into. The simplest thing that you can do is that as you focus more and more on handstands, if that's your thing, say like handstand training is your thing, then that means you're conditioning the handstand is providing the complexity, the movement complexity in your training. Your training has to get simpler and simpler for strength training. Like if we were to look at the programs I do for people nowadays on paper, like who are specializing in hand balance, it's very, very simple. It's like one lower body exercise, a deadlift, a squat, a split squat, kind of cycled what they need. Then something pushing and something pulling, and that's the program. Now, it's very, very simple. They'll only do that once a week as well, but don't neglect, like they'll be doing presses, one arm work. Even though this one is still like, once you're getting into the deeper levels of keep pushing, you're working a lot. The upper back is getting worked a lot. So by smashing it with like a whole back workout or deadlift workout, like a proper deadlifts and posterior chain workout, full posterior chain, then suddenly if you really want to focus on handstands, you're putting a lot of fatigue onto the system that will affect the higher levels of your skill, even if you're only coming to learn the shapes.
Yeah, I think that like it depends entirely. It depends entirely on like what kind of strength work you're thinking about, and I think it's easy to have this kind of Pokemon gotta catch 'em all kind of approach to having to train all kind of movements at the same time, and when you're learning something new, then you might be better off just scaling a little bit back, or like you said, simplify the other elements of your training. So I mean, if all you're doing is standing on your hands 2 days a week, a little bit, then then you can do a lot of calisthenics or a lot of weightlifting or whatever. But if you want to stand on your hands for 5 days a week with quite a lot of volume, maybe learning some complicated things, I mean, such as like the shapes and so on, and keep pushing, or let us say on another case that you're learning the 2-arm handstand, but it's rather heavy for you at this moment in time, and like it takes a lot of energy for you to do the practice, then you might be well off not needing to put in like 3 sets of pull-ups and 3 sets of rows and then a bunch of push-ups and some bench press and so on. Like it might be better to scale back on those things for a period of time, at least until you get better at the skill that you're actually trying to develop. So you need to kind of prioritize a bit there.
Yeah, it's definitely, it kind of depends on how long your sessions are getting as well. Like if you're using, say, a specific push for, or let's say, I'll give you guys a sample program. So in push, say you're working at 20 seconds, kind of freestanding, which is the level you kind of need for keep pushing. Well, then your skill work will come first in your session. Say I'm going to do a home workout. I'll do my skill work, which will be my hand balance. I will train my stuff that I'm learning, the new stuff to me. And then I will train my conditioning for hand balance, my hand balance specific conditioning. And then afterwards, if I still have time, that's when you're going to do your strength and conditioning. So it comes in kind of like the stuff that's the most complex and takes the most amount of thinking and correcting to do comes first. And then the stuff that I can do, but I need to get better at, comes next. Then my general physical preparation will come third. So you kind of would have, you could have 30 minutes dedicated to each thing. We give you a 90-minute workout, which is quite a thing. Then after that, you'd have so general physical preparation will count strength work and flexibility work, just for people listening in. So that kind of gives you a way to organize it. The other way to organize it out would be to do handstand specific days. So I don't know, let's say we have 4 days to train a week. You could do 3 handstand specific days. So Monday, Tuesday handstands, work on different segments of keep pushing and your capacity. Wednesday off, Thursday general strength and conditioning, and then Friday keep pushing handstand work would be one way to look at it. It also depends on like what equipment you have at home, which is the limitation to your training, because if you've got a push-up bar, a pull-up bar and some floor space, then you can basically do anything. So a very simple hand balance conditioning workout for most people would be some combination of push-up or handstand push-up preparation, some pull-ups, just not even weighted or not even thinking about fancy varieties, just pull-ups, changing the grips every workout, and leg lifts. Like if you just done those 3 exercises and got really good at them, like for leg lifts, I'm talking, 10, 15 reps, holding each rep for 3 to 5 seconds at the top,
then you're
you would be a pretty machine. And that's all you kind of need. Like it can be very, very simple. It's a very simple split. It's 3 exercises. It would take you 40 minutes to do 3 or 4 sets in each one. Boom, done.
Yeah, I think you don't need to. I mean, also for hand balancing. If hand balancing is your goal, you don't need tons of like extra exercises to develop the actual work. It's good to do some, but as said, it can be. You can. You need to prioritize at some point, and you can have various also periods where you focus more on one hand than the other. Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, we have loads of questions, and the best question I've gotten today is, what's your favorite dog name? You're asking like this is from Dogs of the World. I assume it's a spammer account, but I'm going to entertain it anyway. Because I like talking about dogs.
We got from a spam account. I'm happy.
But first things first. Yeah, like it's much better rather than just like click here to see my sexy pics. It's like, what's your favorite dog name? Well, Dogs of the World. I don't know what my favorite dog name is because I think dog names are personal to the dog.
I know my favorite cat name, and that was my old cat named Killer Bob. The Killer Bob is definitely the best cat name. He was fucking cool. Yeah, but
Killer Bob.
Bob
Fan Club is incoming.
How's the rest of our question list looking?
I got one here I actually want to take, which is a pretty good one. I'm going to give the fast answer, but I could probably give an hour-long answer to this one. What is the most underlooked aspect / concept of flexibility training? And the easiest answer to this is intent. People don't understand the intent involved in the flexibility training. And what that means would be how we drive the body and how we instruct it to achieve and express the flexibility. It's incredibly simple. Like my intent, people think I must go deeper in my stretch. That's not intent. That's just like a vague goal. It must be like my foot must move 1 millimeter deeper into the stretch. Something like this. Having this idea, having a target to aim for, having a target to move away from. This is what it basically takes you driving the body out. You're like going, oh, relax hamstring, relax. And it doesn't relax because you haven't got that level of sensitivity to the point where the body will do it automatically for you. So we're putting constraint. I call it the poke, prod, and provoke the reaction. We want the 3 Ps of flexibility development. It's one of my secret lists of 3 things.
There's this one I saw here that
more questions?
I thought to take up, which is daily exercises for beginners. And I mean, that's a really good question. So I would say that in terms of daily exercises for beginners, depends, of course, how much of a beginner you are. But let us now say that you are a beginner that is, let's say that you're able to use the wall. And with using the wall, I mean that you're capable of, if you're facing with the back to the wall, you're able to kick your legs up and you're able to reach the wall with your legs safely. You're not going to die from it, and you're not too afraid of getting to the wall. And on the other hand, you're able to put your hands on the floor with the chest to the wall instead. Put the legs on the wall and then climb with your feet so that you get into kind of a chest to wall supported handstand. So let's say that you're able to do both of these. And if you're not able to do both of these, I think that like building up that should be kind of the primary goal. And I like for a home time as now, that can be a great goal. If you cannot stand on your hands whatsoever, then begin with the chest to the wall handstand, where you climb up the wall only as high as you feel capable and able to do, or place your legs on a table or on a chair, put your hands on the floor and lean as much weight onto your hands as possible and push high through the shoulders, just building some sort of strength. But if you're able to do a stomach to wall and a back to wall handstand, I think that using both of these setups and doing a little bit of like with the chest to wall, you focus on endurance and pushing the shoulders high. You focus on, like, I have this one video on Instagram. We can probably link it in the description, where I do a short description of what I call a checklist in handstand. It's where you do a chest to wall handstand. It's basically just explaining how to do it. You get into the handstand, you push your shoulders high, you pull the sternum from the wall, you tense your butt, you tense your quads, and you point your toes. So doing this and just getting used to that kind of body map thing, I think is a daily exercise that you should be spending some time on. And the other is back to the wall, where you kick up to the wall. Then you get practice with your kick up. That is one thing you actually need to get up there, so you practice that part.
You kick up with good technique.
Preferably kick up with good technique.
A lot of people who
don't destroy. Yeah. I mean, if you need to repair your wall afterwards, you should probably look into how to kick into handstand. But when you do back to the wall setups, of course you want to work with as good of a form as you can. But you don't need to be as strict here. With back to wall handstand, try to work on balance. Kick your legs to the wall, and then work on using the grip from the fingers to pull your legs off of the wall and try to achieve balance through the finger pressure. I mean, of course, this is extremely simplified because I'm sitting here with a microphone in my room babbling, so I can't give you like a very detailed setup on how to do all these things. Hence, we have the programs and so on. You can find loads of things on the internet for free about this and whatever. So there is loads of information out there. But in general, use the fingers to grip the floor to get into balance when you're doing back to wall handstand. Those things would be.
Yeah, I think that whole finger, you can't educate the fingers to be too precise in handstands. You can overtrain them, but just learning the connection between I do something with my hand and it moves my body it's like a baby standing up for the first time before they can walk. That's what, like, you know, learning that is like, oh, if I lean forward, fingers get heavy. If I lean back, and even just like there's just that thing of just getting upside down, you know, it doesn't have to be like you'll have your formal training. I'm developing my skill sessions where I do it for 30-40 minutes, and then it could just be like, okay, I'll warm my wrists and I'll just try something for 5-6 minutes and go away. Like just getting upside down. That could be just, you know, I'm going to do my leg training this day. I'll do a couple of kick-ups or something. Just every time you get upside down, it builds a body map of being inverted. And this is what will enhance your balance and your control upside down. So, I don't know, even hanging your head off the side of your table maybe upside down could help.
Yeah, and I mean... No, just like things also like, I mean, I'm not a large fan of headstands in relation to hand balancing because it's such a different skill. But in one sense, yes, if you have absolutely no equipment, experience or anything, then learning a headstand might also be a project that you can be doing during this period. But I mean, for me, like if you want to be doing handstands, then like the primary thing that you might be needing to work on is your shoulder conditioning. So get the hands on the floor instead and work on that if a handstand is what you want to do. So
yeah. Other thing, just to throw in and to drop on my YouTube channel, Emmett Lewis, there is a video of joint rotations. If you do them every day, good things will happen. I can guarantee you that. If you're a beginner, particularly if you're not used to mobility training or feel a bit stiff or just coming new to the kind of movement thing, doing that as a practice for 10-15 minutes a day will do wonders. And it's up there for free on YouTube, so check it out. So we have our last question, which I think is a really good one. Hold on 2 seconds.
Holding on
while I get my phone. Is there a training method of handstands that does not involve reps but is a fun game instead?
Tons. I mean, I can invent one right now. Like take a shot every time you fall from handstand. I mean, you can you can do anything. I mean, I think this is also kind of a topic for another episode, really. But like, how do professional hand balancers train? That's what we do all the time. Like, we don't have a system. We just go in, or not everyone, but at least a lot of people I know that are very good. They show up at training. Okay, what do we do today? kind of bored because we've done all this stuff before. Let's try to jump up on this block in this dumb way, and then you spend half an hour on that, and then you come up with some dumb idea that you throw something at your friend while it's in handstand. You know, you don't need to think sets and reps, and I think that sets and reps are useful to a degree, but with hand balancing it can also be detrimental, because if you have too much of kind of a fitnessy, it has to be X sets of this and this, and it has to have this long hold times and this long rest times, and suddenly all you have is like it's not mathematics, and just like I'm not a fan of having a metronome and like staying up for this and that long. I want to have fun. I want to focus, and I want to experience the thing that I'm doing. So you can very easily do handstand practice that is just like, you just, okay, I would just want to kick up and do a handstand right now. Perfect example is Elise of Handstand Factory. That's how she trains. She goes, oh, I want to do a tuck handstand right now, and she jumps into a tuck handstand right now. That's what works for her. Like, she did, like, some people don't like sets and reps. It's great. You can get loads done with that too.
I think it's one of those things that's kind of important to note, is like, you can brute force a handstand. I know you've talked about this as well. You can brute force a one arm just by constantly attempting it, and you will get it. Like, this, you know, that's essentially what kid gymnasts do. Like, kids are very terrible at following cues to a certain degree, depending on the coach. But they get really good. Why? Because they just keep doing it for a very long time, to the point they're actually really good at it.
It's kind of like in terms of that, I just want to be precise on like the term brute force. Like, here it's like it does apply to just using strength, but it kind of, to me, it more applies in terms of like, as in code breaking, where you just have a machine trying all the numbers, and in the end it is going to break it. It's a little bit like that. Like, if a body tries to do a one-arm handstand enough amount of times, regardless the technique, if the body doesn't break, it'll be able to stand on one arm. It's not efficient, but it will likely be able to at some point in time. So,
yeah, it's also like, there's one thing to throw in that this one of the concepts I picked up from my coach Serge from martial arts, not from this, is that we have two modes of training, and it applies to hand balance. It applies to everything, actually. Once I kind of had the light, it was one of those light bulb moments. We have the correcting, honing in the practice side of things, where we're actually working on developing the body. We have, you know, sets and reps are applicable here because we can control those. But then we have the doing. And if you're in a phase of like, I'm thinking about what I'm doing, when you're thinking about doing the thing, even if you're doing it, you're not actually doing it because you're thinking about it. Whereas you have to have something in your practice where you just do it. And we have this in one of the programs, I think from Push, from once you get into the later stage of Push, we have the concept of play sessions, where it's just like, just play on your hands for 20 minutes, do whatever you want, try some shapes, try some advanced stuff. You've seen a picture on someone doing something cool on Instagram, try and copy it, try and make your version. This kind of idea of having deformalized play structure.
It's really important to I think over time get used to that kind of structure, because eventually you're also going to kind of hit the singularity where it's going to take an extreme amount of time and effort to kind of reach the next level, kind of, and like, then you need to have stuff to do. You need to be able to enjoy and play around with it. And I that's what I said, that this is what I see a lot with professional circus artists and so on, that like, we have done most of the tricks, and then to move to the next level of trick is going to then take an absurd amount of time, or a lot of people aren't even interested, because it's just like, all the tricks have been done 100 times better by so many people already, and like, it's there are other elements of the practice that can be fun and interesting too.
Yeah, it's kind of making it your own, you know. It's also like, it's that whole trap of the sets and reps. Like, it traps everyone, not just handstands. It's just like, I have to do my workout like this, and it's like, well, it looks great on paper, but you're not a machine. Like, at the end of the day, we have to have an expectation that the body can't have the demands imposed on it that day. So it's also like, you know, mentally, if you just find it fatiguing, that like, oh, I have to go up and do 35 seconds. Like, I have to set my metronome. Dear God, I'm a coach, and like, so many people send me videos of like training with metronomes, and I appreciate you guys do it, but I can't do it. Like, I count if I need to count tempos or something, or count, but it's just, some of us are wired differently, and it
I
doesn't
remember
work all the
even
time.
my coach, my Russian coach in circus school, I came in, I was totally smashed, and he's like, "Oh, it's okay. Body is not like a robot," he told me. And even he said, like, "Yeah, sometimes you have a bad day, and that's fine." And yeah, it's like, I think that's why I like. Also, I know that you as well do that, like in terms of coaching, work with kind of approximated numbers rather than like you having to do X sets of this and that and like this whole time. So we've talked about this before, but I think this is a really it's a good thing to keep in mind, that because we also have a bunch of these fucking arbitrary time things, like you have qualified when you did 10 seconds. Why the hell 10 seconds? Just because it's a 2-digit number and it looks pretty? Like, if you stayed on your hands and you controlled it and it felt good and you felt you learned something, you did the thing. Yeah.
Why not 12 seconds? I think 12 is a better number than 10 myself.
I think it's like, of course it's good to have as kind of like goals and targets and stuff like that. It's not like it's bad, but that to keep them or to put them on too much of a pedestal, I guess that is kind of the point, that isn't necessarily helping you to go anywhere.
And then the goal becomes unbeatable. Like the amount of people get stuck at 55 seconds and they're trying to get their 60-second handstand because they just aren't ready for it, and then can't break the goal. And then you take the timer away from them or tell them the wrong time. They're like, "Oh, I done a minute 15 seconds," and it's like,
yeah, I remember it was a guy that
you tell them that when they
contacted
come
me
down for
about
it.
that
You're like,
on one arm. It's like, I always fall on 45 seconds. Oh, and it seemed like to him it was just like it was like a thing. I have to do the 1 minute handstand, the 1 arm handstand. Wow, it's such a big thing. And then you get closer and closer, and you get tired, more and more tired, and then you get more and more stressed. But I really want it this time. And then you'd ruin it because you get too stressed. So yeah, it's not always like the best approach.
Yeah, right. So we have been talking. This was meant to be a mini-sode. I think on our time we're approaching about an hour now. So ramble-sode. So anyway, I'd just like to say thank you all for listening to us. We have our programs available on Handstand Factory if you want to support the podcast, or if you want to make sure me and Mikhail can afford some food during this corona crisis. Please buy some. Other than that, if you have questions you'd like answered or anything, you can DM us on Instagram. You can go to the website on handstandfactory.com and use the contact form there and send us that. And you can send us on Handstand Factory as well on the Instagram there. We're all over the place. Other than that, we'll get this out on Thursday, and I hope you guys are all safe and everyone is all safe through this thing.
Train at home.
Remember, it takes a crisis to show the best in people, but train at home and stare at the floor.
Train a lot. I mean, you have tons of time.
Everyone, you must come out with a 1 arm.